And we're back. I'm Coach Fowler, and we are taking a look at the Kansas City Chiefs at the Atlanta Falcons. This is week 3 from the 2024 season. And we're going to take a look at an outside zone play, and we're especially going to look at how the linebackers here use a technique that I call ear holing to play the backside of these very flat blocks. And I think Nick Bolton does this as well as anybody. We're going to take a look at that. But first of all, we need to know the situation. So this is 1st and 10. And the Falcons are in 11 personnel. You can see right here there's one running back and one tight end. So 1 and 1 is 11. That's 11 personnel. Formationally, we have 2 cut receivers to the left of the defense. So this would be cut 2. Then we have a tight end on and 2 receivers in total over here to the right. So starting from left to right, we have cut 22 on. Cut 22 on. Again, we say the tag before the numbers if we're talking about the left side. We say it after the numbers if we're talking about the right side. So in this case, we have cut 2 and then 2 on because the tight end is on here. So cut 22 on. And then the backfield set is dot back. All right. And remember, we call this a dot back because if this was I backs, then the tailback would be the dot of a lowercase I, dot back. All right, quarterback under center needs no designation. Now, the Chiefs, right now it's not obvious, but you're going to see how right here Justin Reed will spin down into the box, creating an 8-man box. And the rule is with one back in the backfield, one back, one gap with an 8-man box. All right, so it turns out the Chiefs are actually in man coverage here. You can sort of tell as we get rolling, the corners are in obvious man coverage. All right. Now, whether it's man or cover 3 doesn't really matter because it turns out to be a run play, and both are 8-man boxes, so we still play our 8-man rules. That's one back, one gap. Now, I'll let this run, and then we'll take a look from the other side. You can even see it from this side, though. Nick Bolton. Watch Nick Bolton right here. See how he plays the backside. He ends up playing the backside of his gap, but he shoves his lineman 67, the center. He shoves him into his A gap and then plays the backside of it. Watch from the other angle. All right, so from this angle, we get motion. All right, and then freeze it here. Now, these are the gaps that they have once the ball is snapped, okay? Even before the ball is snapped, as long as there are no pullers on this play, these would be their gaps because, again, 8-man box means one back, one gap. We know it's an 8-man box because Reed is coming down into the box. Anytime there's only a single high safety, that means we're in an 8-man box, okay? So we play 8-man box rules. Now, you can see Tranquil has this B gap. The Chiefs are actually in an under front here, under meaning that the 3 technique, Chris Jones here, is offset away from the tight end. If he was to the tight end, this would be an over front, but this is an under front because he's offset away from the tight end, and our shade or our nose or our 1 technique is to the side of the tight end. Okay, so this is an under front. All right, when the ball is snapped, all right, these guys can just go hit their gaps full speed. But as we watch this, I'm going to watch in slow motion. See how flat the offensive line is? When they're that flat, it's really hard for the linebackers to be able to get into their gaps. So sometimes what we do is we use a technique called ear holing or backdooring. Backdooring is more of a general term. Ear holing is a specific subset of backdooring in which we actually, the way that I was taught was stick your helmet in the offensive lineman's ear hole. And that's why we call it ear holing. I think that's probably illegal now, but the concept is the same. We're going to punch the backside of him and try to use his body to fill our gap, and then we'll fall back to the inside. So you watch Nick Bolton here. He's supposed to get all the way between 63 and 67 here, all right? But that gap is pretty much closed up. The fact that the lineman's shoulders are turned towards the sideline here allows Bolton to now shove him and use his momentum to occupy that A gap, and then Bolton can fall back and play the other A gap backside, and it works out really well for him. Watch here. See how he shoves the 67 into his gap? So he basically cancels that gap with 67's body. Now he's able to play backside in that gap that's actually supposed to be occupied by the nose guard, but of course the nose guard's getting cut out here because of the flat trajectory or the flat path of the offensive line. So on outside zone is really where you see this most. Now you'll see Tranquil tries to do this on the other side. but his lineman is not quite as flat. He's not trying to shove the defensive lineman next to him. He's really climbing pretty quickly. So he has a little harder time being able to ear hold this guy because he's not as flat and his shoulders aren't turned as much. But you can see he's still trying to do the same thing there. All right, but Bolton does this really to perfection. Let's watch it in normal speed. Shove, fall back, make the play on Bijan Robinson. Very good. Okay, so once again, the Chiefs show great gap integrity, and Bolton really shows why he's one of the best linebackers in the league. Until next time.